Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
Humanitarian aid will be going to Gaza through one more border crossing. What's Israel deciding during the war?
Hunter Biden is facing more legal trouble than just one indictment. What do we know about these charges so far? An expert weighs in.
The military is on track to keep funding travel for abortions and other controversial operations. This as lawmakers introduce the annual defense policy bill. We bring you what's included.
U.S. rail construction gets a boost. The Biden administration grants more than $8 billion for high-speed passenger rail projects across the nation.
A former drug trafficker now works on the other side of the law, teaching police how to fight the cartels. We have the story of the man who helped bring down El Chapo.
A heartfelt plea from Russian women demanding the return of their husbands from Ukraine's front line. The wife of one soldier shares her story.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
We open with the latest updates on the war in Gaza. Israel will be opening its border crossing with Gaza for the first time during the war.
Authorities will screen and inspect humanitarian aid going into Gaza at the Karim Shalom border crossing. The U.S. requested the opening.
And inside Gaza, the Israeli military will continue to make sweeping arrests to determine who is Hamas terrorists. Authorities were questioning the detainees they already rounded up.
According to a Bloomberg report, the Palestinian Authority is working with the Biden administration on a political plan for Gaza once the war is over. The Palestinian Authority said Hamas could join them in building a new and independent Palestinian state.
The U.S. Embassy in Baghdad was attacked with 2 salvos of rockets this morning, but there were no casualties.
An embassy spokesperson added that the attack is believed to have been carried out by an Iran-aligned militias in Iraq. No group immediately claimed responsibility. An umbrella group of Iran-aligned Muslim militias began attacking U.S. forces on military bases in Iraq and Syria in mid-October. However, this was the first reported rocket attack against the embassy.
The armed groups operate under the banner of the Islamic resistance in Iraq. Iraq's prime minister released a statement describing the group as unruly and lawless. He said the group does not represent the will of the Iraqi people. Hunter Biden is facing new criminal charges. It's the second criminal case special counsel David Weiss has brought against the president's son and his long-running DOJ investigation.
Weiss announced the indictment last night, accusing Hunter Biden of failing to pay over $1 million in taxes while spending millions on, quote, items of a personal nature instead.
The indictment alleges this took place during a 4-year scheme to support what it called a lavish lifestyle. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on the new charges.
A California grand jury returned a 9-count indictment against Hunter Biden Thursday, charging him with 3 felony tax offenses and 6 misdemeanor tax offenses. Special counsel David Weiss alleging the first son spent millions on a lavish lifestyle and drugs instead of fulfilling his tax obligations. Weiss says the charges include 3 counts of failure to pay taxes for the years 2016, 2017, and 2019, and 3 counts of failure to file tax returns for the years 2017 and 2018. The special counsel's team accuses Hunter Biden of engaging in a 4-year scheme to avoid paying taxes amounting to at least $1.4 million. Prosecutors allege that Hunter Biden included false business deductions when filing for 2018, after eventually paying for that year, and claim it was done in order to evade assessment and reduce the substantial tax liabilities he faced. Also in the 56-page indictment are accusations of subverting the payroll and tax withholding process of his own company by withdrawing millions of dollars outside of its normal withholding process. It accuses the president's son of spending his money during that time on drugs, escorts and girlfriends, luxury hotels, exotic cars, and clothing, among other items of a personal nature, quote, in short, everything but his taxes. It states he spent over $1.8 million in 2018 alone, listing roughly $770,000 in cash withdrawals that year, along with over $380,000 payments to women, and close to $150,000 on clothing and accessories. The indictment also lists spending for 2016, 2017, and 2019. Hunter Biden's attorney Abby Lowell stated Thursday, based on the facts and the law, charges wouldn't have been brought if his client had any other last name. Lowell accuses Weiss of reneging on a prior plea deal under GOP pressure and then piling on 9 new charges after a 5-year-long investigation. If convicted on all counts, Hunter Biden could face a maximum penalty of 17 years in prison. The Justice Department says its investigation is ongoing. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
We reached out to the White House, DOJ, and Hunter Biden's attorney for comment. We'll let you know when we hear back.
And for analysis of Hunter Biden's latest indictment, I spoke with retired FBI agent and former assistant district attorney for Brooklyn, Mark Ruskin. Mark Ruskin, thank you for joining us again. Good to have you back on the show. What do we know about the charges against Hunter Biden so far?
Hi, Chris. It's good to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Well, it looks like there's really quite a thorough set of charges which have been prepared, a very weighty indictment with both misdemeanor and felony federal counts. So I think that he and his attorneys are going to have their hands full in the coming month and years, maybe.
Now, the special counsel originally wanted to bring charges against Hunter in this district, but was prevented from doing so. Tell us about this.
Well, federal jurisdiction can be a very complex matter because you can have a jurisdiction in various federal districts, and then you can also have state or local jurisdiction to cover the same acts. So, usually it's legal matters which can divide and determine which jurisdiction, which district the case is going to be brought in. But often there are other unrelated issues which can be involved as well. There are political considerations. There's such a thing as what's called forum shopping, where one party or the other tries to select the forum which will be more favorable to their point of view. So here it was probably a mix of all those issues which resulted in the final determination that the jurisdiction would be in California.
And Mark, why do you suspect the special counsel is now able to bring this indictment? What changed?
Well, many things have changed, including the climate, the political climate in the country and the public awareness of what's been going on with regard to Hunter Biden and his kind of shenanigans, if you will. The case which is being brought or investigated by the Judiciary Committees and the Oversight Committee in Congress have brought to the public's awareness a lot of what's been going on with regard to not just Hunter Biden, but other members of his family, to include his father. And some of it is so blatant that the time has come, I suspect, when it can't be swept under the rug anymore. With the charges for the handgun originally and the ones that were dismissed, that could be swept under the rug. But now it's like Pandora's box. It's out of control.
And how could all this affect President Joe Biden's campaign for the 2024 election?
Well, I mean, it can certainly have a pejorative effect if the snowball rolling down the hill starts to gather momentum and starts to become larger and larger. And as the case becomes more and more public and the public becomes aware of what is implied here in terms of the president and his family members, it could lead him to ultimately to determine that perhaps he shouldn't run, perhaps his age is a factor, and he would make some cursory remarks as to why the time has come to pull out. So it could affect the decision not to run. It certainly wouldn't be very beneficial to him in his campaign.
And Mark, next week the House is expected to vote on whether or not to conduct an impeachment inquiry into President Biden about his family's business dealings. How could this recent indictment affect that vote?
Well, the recent indictment, from a legal point of view, is essentially unrelated to the impeachment process. I mean, these are two processes. One defined, the impeachment process is defined by the Constitution in terms of its parameters, and the judicial process, the prosecution in the federal district court, essentially are going to be proceeding in as parallel cases, but not interrelated cases. But obviously, since the personnel overlap, there's going to be an overlap in terms of interest and in terms of some of the fact situations.
All right, Mark Ruskin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me here.
New York lawmakers are commenting on shots fired outside a synagogue in the state's capital.
On Thursday, just hours before Hanukkah, a man in Albany reportedly fired a shotgun twice before yelling, "Free Palestine."
The suspect was taken into custody and later charged. No one was injured in the incident. New York Governor Kathy Hochul commented.
Every act, whether it's verbal or physical, any act of anti-Semitism is unacceptable and undermining the public safety at our synagogue the first night of Hanukkah is even more deplorable.
NBC reports the suspect is a 28-year-old Mufid Fawaz al-Qahaider, who was federally charged with possession of a firearm by a prohibited person.
Congresswoman Grace Mung of New York also said she was disturbed by the incident, especially as Hanukkah was set to begin.
And an update on a college student of Palestinian descent who was shot in Vermont.
Hisham Awartani has now left the hospital. His family says he's currently paralyzed from the chest down as a bullet is lodged in his spine. Awartani is one of 3 childhood friends who graduated from a school in the West Bank.
They now attend colleges in the eastern U.S. According to the family, the 3 were walking to the house of a family member for dinner when they were shot in an unprovoked attack late last month.
Ivy League universities facing backlash over campus anti-Semitism are now facing repercussions. A prominent rabbi and anti-Semitism advisor at Harvard, David Volpe, resigned yesterday, citing painfully inadequate testimony from Harvard President Claudine Gay. He also says the system at Harvard and its ideology grip far too many students and faculty. Volpe says the ideology works only along axes of oppression. He argues that portraying Jews as oppressors and inherently evil is wrong and makes the entire ideology evil.
Major UPenn donor Ross Stevens says he's withdrawing a $100 million donation. His attorneys say it's because UPenn violated the firm's limited partnership agreement. Stevens' lawyers say the university failed to meet its anti-discrimination and harassment rules. He mentioned UPenn President Liz McGill's recent testimony when she said calls for genocide violate policy based on the context and whether they were directed, pervasive, and severe.
The board of UPenn's Wharton Business School is now calling for McGill's resignation. Earlier, I spoke with Gerard Felitti, senior counsel at the Lawfare Project, for more about the new pressure on these schools. Gerard Felitti, thank you for joining us. What message does this $100 million loss send to UPenn?
Well, it sends the message that donors are fed up with inaction on anti-Semitism. It sends the message that alumni, donors, institutions, just like the U.S. Congress and the American people, are sick and tired of not seeing the administration do anything, that this inaction has consequences. And if the school is unwilling to impose consequences on Jew hatred, donors are going to take their money elsewhere and not support an institution that's failing.
How significant is this loss for UPenn?
It's pretty significant. UPenn relies significantly on donor funding. It has a large endowment, but not as large as, for example, Harvard. It depends on money to build buildings, to tenure professors, to continue activities. One loss of $100 million, honestly, is not the biggest deal, but it's a trend. We see more and more donors behind the scenes pulling donations or donating just $1 where before they donated a lot more. If this trend continues, it will really impact Penn's bottom line and other universities as well.
And are we seeing these losses, these withdrawals, affect leadership at these colleges at all at this point?
Leadership is being questioned more and more by the boards of directors. You saw at UPenn, for example, Wharton School is very much interested in maintaining donor relations. It's a business school that's known for developing business relations and maintaining strong alumni connections. And when they see that the administration is causing donors to pull funding, it sends the message that they need to change. So the administration, the presidents, are under more pressure from within the school to do something. This is an effect that the donation lack is having.
And when you say do something, what could that look like?
It looks like action, not the words that we saw in the congressional testimony the other day. It means enforcing policies against bigotry and hate. It includes imposing consequences on all of these students that we've seen practically rioting on college campuses, yelling genocidal chants against Jewish students. Imposing consequences is not just making statements. It's actually expelling students, suspending students, making it clear that this kind of behavior is unacceptable. And until donors and the public see that, the pressure will continue on these presidents.
All right, Gerard, let's turn our attention to Harvard. Their prominent rabbi, David Volpe, from Harvard's Antisemitism board, in an ex-post, he called Harvard President Dr. Claudine Gay's testimony at Congress painfully inadequate. What happened at that hearing?
The hearing was an opportunity for these presidents to come and explain what measures they're taking to protect Jewish students, what measures they're taking to protect minority students and enforce their civil rights. But what we saw instead was prevarication, prepared statements probably written by lawyers that didn't say anything, and a blatant refusal to answer direct questions like, is genocide wrong, or are genocidal chants calling for the deaths of Jews improper conduct on college campuses? And seeing that conduct, seeing these statements made by university professors so disgusted people, including the rabbi, that they're now taking action. The rabbi, I think, resigned yesterday over this.
And in his post, Rabbi Volpe called out an ideology at Harvard that, quote, works only along axes of oppression and places Jews as oppressors. What's he talking about here?
There is no doubt in anyone's mind that if you are on Harvard's campus calling for the genocide of African Americans, you will face consequences. If you're misgendering people, you will face consequences. But calling for the death of Jews has no consequences. That's the hierarchy of oppression. Jews are not seen as a protected class at Harvard, which is blatantly illegal because under the Civil Rights Act, they are entitled to protection as a minority people.
And what can colleges do to respond to this?
Colleges need to impose consequences. They need to make it clear that conduct that's intimidating, threatening, and harassing to any students, but now especially to Jewish students, is unacceptable and has consequences. If you're going around a college campus chanting intifada, which is a call for genocide, you need to be expelled. You need to face punishment, not to be allowed to continue doing this now for over 2 months since Gaza attacked Israel. This is what colleges need to do: impose consequences, uphold the law, and enforce the rules so that Jewish students and all students are kept safe.
All right, Gerard Felitti, thank you so much.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Coming up, a financially struggling academic with a list of targets. Police have new information about the Vegas campus shooting suspect.
A real-time crime center in D.C. will monitor cameras 24/7. The mayor weighs in on the importance of this new initiative.
A multi-threat storm is set to hit the eastern half of the U.S. this weekend. What severe weather can we expect? More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
Art is beautiful, breathtaking, timeless, and moving. Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Shin-Yun.
Anyone who's ever sold a home can tell you it is really hard. That's why who you work with matters. Together with Homelight, we've helped thousands of people sell faster and for the best price.
I'd like to say this is the first time, but there have been others.
How many?
Who can keep track?
You think this is a joke?
Darling, we need answers, and you're gonna give them to us.
Tell us again.
My car broke down, I brought it here.
I got stuck paying an expensive repair bill.
So it's true.
How much, darling?
$2,300. But
$2,300.
Well, what was I supposed to do? My transmission was shot.
You pick up your phone and you call CarShield before the car breaks down.
Plans through CarShield cover up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car.
That's right. A plan through CarShield could save you on some criminally high auto repairs, especially if your car is out of warranty. So, call CarShield, America's #1 auto protection company, before a breakdown and save yourself from getting stuck in car repair jail.
Let me guess. You hate saving money.
Who hates saving money?
Apparently you do.
All you had to do was call CarShield. And you could have protected yourself against expensive repairs.
Yeah, and then my price will go up the minute I file a claim.
Shut up! CarShield has the price locked in.
For as long as you cover your car.
Guess I should have called CarShield?
It's about time you said something that made sense.
Now you know what you need to do next time.
Bet he'll call CarShield now.
So can I go? Or
Don't get handcuffed paying expensive auto repairs. Call now and get the CarShield guarantee. Your price will never go up and your coverage will never go down as long as you cover your car. In just minutes, you could have a plan that covers up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car. Don't wait until it's too late. Get CarShield's best coverage yet. Call 800-965-0729. 800-965-0729. 800-965-0729.
When they learn something new and you can just see in their faces, it's such an incredible moment. It's those moments that are my favorite.
The U.S. economy is up nearly 200,000 new jobs. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 199,000 jobs were added in November.
That figure was about 20,000 more than economists had expected. The unemployment rate fell from 3.9% to 3.7%.
President Biden and transportation officials have announced more than $8 billion in federal rail grants.
The money will go toward 10 projects, all funded by the bipartisan infrastructure law. The ambitious Bright Line West project is getting $3 billion alone. The high-speed rail line is expected to connect Las Vegas to Los Angeles in half the time it currently takes to drive. Planners hope it will be completed in time for the 2028 Olympics in LA.
Also getting funding, a controversial high-speed rail project connecting Los Angeles to San Francisco that's already years behind schedule.
In Maryland, light rail services will be suspended at all stops starting today for emergency inspections and repairs. Maryland transit authorities say the suspension is out of an abundance of caution. They discovered the potential for a punctured conduit on its light rail vehicles. This comes after a blowout and several smoke events between November 2021 and November 2023, with 3 of those incidents happening in the past 4 months.
One person suffered minor injuries in an October incident. Limited service is set to be restored once inspection and repair is completed on at least 8 rail cars. Full service will be restored once inspection and repairs on all 19 vehicles is complete. It's unclear when the work will be completed. In the meantime, shuttle buses will be provided at all stations.
Lawmakers have presented the annual defense policy bill. House and Senate committees agreed on a piece of legislation leaving out some divisive social issues like abortion and transgender surgeries. The Armed Services Committees of both chambers released the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act. This year's bill authorizes the highest annual budget ever. The act allocates almost $900 billion in spending. That's a 3% increase over last year.
However, it does not include some social issues House Republicans wanted to see in the bill. like abortions and transgender surgeries. This means the Pentagon's controversial policy of reimbursing service members who travel to obtain abortions will stay in place. And coverage of transition surgeries for transgender troops will also continue.
But there are some Republican points left in this year's bill. Namely, the bill will strip funding for military drag show performances. It's also set to outlaw instruction of critical race theory.
The bill is expected to pass both chambers and be signed into law by President Biden.
A senator's son is charged with manslaughter after a deadly car chase. He allegedly stole a car and ultimately crashed it into an empty patrol vehicle, which killed a deputy standing nearby. Police in Bismarck responded to a stolen car report on Wednesday. According to a Highway Patrol news release, officers approached the suspect, Ian Kramer, who then fled.
The release says Kramer then crashed into an empty patrol vehicle that was parked on the side of the road. Mercer County Deputy Paul Martin was standing outside the car and about to deploy stop sticks to end the pursuit.
Kramer is the son of North Dakota Senator Kevin Kramer. The senator said in a statement that his son suffers from serious mental disorders, which manifest in severe paranoia and hallucinations.
The Coast Guard Wednesday displayed more than 18,000 pounds of seized cocaine in San Diego. The illicit drugs have an estimated street value of more than $239 million. The haul is from 6 separate busts of suspected drug smuggling vessels. The seizures occurred off the Mexican, Central, and South American coasts.
The cocaine was seized in November. The most recent bust on November 20th was the largest. The Coast Guard intercepted a self-propelled semi-submersible carrying more than 5,500 pounds of cocaine.
Several U.S. agencies work together to fight transnational crimes such as drug trafficking. According to Customs and Border Protection, authorities seized over 40 tons of cocaine this year. A former Chicago drug trafficker now has a new job. He's teaching law enforcement how to fight cartels and illegal drug smugglers.
We have the story of the man who helped bring down El Chapo. Please note that we didn't show his face out of concern for his safety.
I come from a family of drug traffickers.
This is Margarito Flores. He used to work with one of the world's most notorious drug kingpins, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman.
By the time I was 17, I guess I graduated by then, right? I had a degree in drug trafficking.
Flores went from counting packages of drugs as a child to running a multi-billion-dollar network with his twin brother in the Chicago area in the early 2000s, to eventual informant who turned on El Chapo. Now he's pulling back the curtain on his former trade secrets for law enforcement.
We're going to be going around the country and hopefully around the world and being able to share some of these tactics. That's where you see money and drugs.
Flores works with an Illinois-based firm called Dynamic Police Training. At this session near Chicago, over 100 law enforcement personnel are learning about the flow of bulk U.S. currency that finances trafficking.
So I'm talking about bulk U.S. currency that needs to be moved in semi-trucks. That is what fuels drug cartels.
Between 2005 and 2008, the Flores brothers' distribution cell earned nearly $2 billion, receiving more than 3,300 pounds of cocaine a month from the Beltran Leyva and El Chapo's Sinaloa cartels. That's according to federal court documents and the U.S. Department of Justice. Arrested in 2008, the brothers were sentenced to 14 years in prison. For their cooperation, they served 5. Prosecutors credit them with providing unparalleled assistance for the government's case against El Chapo. As informants, the Flores brothers pressed record on an audio tape device and called him to discuss a heroin shipment.
The phone call, for sure, we knew that it was gonna, change our lives because the government had let us know that there has never been a legally recorded or intercepted call with Chapo Guzman talking about a drug transaction in the United States. What do they want to do?
The brothers were released in 2020.
Get rid of it.
Flores' law enforcement trainees told Reuters his insight helps them figure out the best way to dismantle narcotics networks.
I don't know if there's anyone out there that could, sit here today and understand the American drug trade, the Mexican drug trade, as I have. I live both sides of it from every aspect.
And Washington, D.C. is launching a new crime-fighting initiative called the Real-Time Crime Center. D.C. police will run the center and monitor a network of more than 300,000 closed circuit cameras 24 hours a day. It's a bid to take the serious crime spike in the city.
We have to have more technology to balance off not having the number of people resources that we have had in past years. So no camera will replace a live police officer, but it does enhance the force's ability to be in more places.
The American Civil Liberties Union of D.C. called the plan, quote, an alarming expansion of government surveillance. The Real-Time Crime Center is expected to launch in February. And lead poisoning linked to recalled applesauce pouches has increased. The FDA says the number of children sickened has risen to 64. They're all under the age of 6. The FDA previously recalled 3 products and said cinnamon may be the source of the lead contamination. The agency now says the cinnamon was supplied by a company in Ecuador called Negasmart. According to the FDA, Ecuadorian authorities reported the cinnamon had higher levels of lead than that allowed in the country. The FDA also says it conducted an on-site inspection of the facility in Ecuador. An ingredient sample collection is underway. Another recall is for a toy. The Consumer Product Safety Commission has recalled more than 700 units of colorful metal magnetic balls from Express Goods. Parents should immediately take them from children and contact the company for a refund. The agency says if swallowed, the magnetic balls can attract to each other and become lodged in the digestive system. This could tear or block the intestines and cause blood poisoning or even death. The CPSC estimates there were 2,400 emergency room visits from 2017 through 2021 due to people swallowing small magnetic balls. 7 deaths were reported, including 5 in the U.S. The CPSC also issued several warnings Thursday for similar high-powered magnetic balls from 6 other companies. Most were sold on Temu. The South and Northeast are bracing for storms this weekend. The Storm Prediction Center says the Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas region could see damaging wind and large hail Friday night into Saturday. Some of these isolated systems may also produce a few tornadoes. Heavy rain is also expected in the Great Lakes through Ohio and down to Tennessee valleys. Between 2 and 4 inches is likely in the southeast. As the weekend progresses, the mid-Atlantic and northeast could see heavy rain on Sunday. Cold air filling in behind the front could briefly turn that into snow. Coming up after the break, the situation looks dire regarding peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. We bring you what the Kremlin says about possible negotiations.
And in Germany, train passengers are stranded at stations. This comes as train drivers strike. We'll hear from passengers and what they think about the strike when we return.
Right now, all over the country, kids at Shriners Hospitals for Children are able to go home and be with their families for the holidays. And it's only possible because of the monthly support of people just like you.
Thanks to a generous donor, every dollar you give can help twice as many kids like me and have double the impact.
With your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you, and a reminder of the care you'll be providing so kids can be with their families.
It only takes a moment to call the number on your screen, or you can visit loveshriners.org right now on your phone or computer.
Thanks to a generous donor, your gift will go twice as far and help more kids like me.
Because every child just wants to be home for the holidays, and your gift makes that possible.
Your call is the best gift of all.
Your gift will be my favorite Christmas present this year.
Thank you for giving.
Please call the number on your screen or go online right now with your monthly gift.
And when you do, your gift will have 2 times the impact.
Are diapers destroying your confidence? Men's Liberty can help. Our discreet external device is safe, sanitary, and keeps you dry 24 hours, day and night. Step into the spotlight and do more of what you love with Men's Liberty. It's been ordered over 5 million times by thousands of satisfied fans. Call now to get a free week supply with your first order. There's no obligation, just the opportunity to try the most revolutionary solution to incontinence ever made. Unlike diapers, Men's Liberty is a long-term answer to dealing with incontinence. Make the choice to finally move forward with your life by calling Men's Liberty today. We'll answer all of your questions about how our completely unique device works and how Medicare can cover it. Dealing with expensive, uncomfortable diapers is no way to live. Men's Liberty lets you get back out there with more freedom and confidence to be you. Ready to find out more about our offer to get a free week supply? Then don't wait. Call Men's Liberty today.
I'm David Lamb in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we are NTD News.
A growing movement of Russian women is demanding the safe return of their husbands, sons, and brothers from the front lines.
We hear from the wife of a soldier who was mobilized into battle last year.
Maria Andreeva's husband has been fighting in Ukraine for more than a year, but she's waging her own battle in Moscow to get him home. And she's not alone. An increasing number of Russian women are demanding the return of their husbands, sons and brothers from the front line. They were mobilized following a decree by President Vladimir Putin in September last year. Hundreds of thousands of young men rushed to leave Russia. Millions did not, and some of them were called up to fight.
We want our men to be demobilized, to bring them back home to us, because we believe that in a year they have done all they could for the front, and even more that was required of them. They are civilians. First of all, they're losing their skills. They're losing their health, both physical and psychological.
Since Andreeva's husband was mobilized, he's only been back for 2 short breaks to see his wife and young daughter. Andreeva says this is insufficient for a soldier fighting in a conflict.
Just so my daughter understands that you can play with that dad is nearby, that dad rocks her in the evening. You see, her dad is very involved and has been so right from the beginning. And it's very hard for her without her dad. And then boom, here we go again.
As part of their demonstrations, they're aiming right at the top.
We are trying to get through the direct line with the president. Then we will think further. Solitary protests. Something like putting stickers on cars so that they don't forget about us. We will put prints on clothing. Do everything possible to attract attention to the problem. We will also try to interact with the media. Many girls already want to, are ready, are trying.
Tackling the movement is a delicate matter for the Kremlin. Moscow sent tens of thousands of troops to Ukraine in February 2022. In previous wars, it has tolerated higher death tolls than would be politically palatable in Western countries. But the growing movement of Russian women emphasises the complexity and inequality of keeping so many men at war for so long, especially while many more of fighting age remain at home. Women in Ukraine have also demanded their men be allowed back from the front.
And staying with Europe, we have some short headlines from the UK, Germany, and other countries. After bilateral talks, the US and UK say they're in lockstep on supporting Ukraine.
America's Foreign Secretary Antony Blinken used the meeting with his British counterpart to advocate for President Biden's supplemental aid package.
The $100 billion funding bill would allocate money to Ukraine, Israel, the southern border, and more.
Senate Republicans this week voted to stop the package from advancing.
It's crucial that the United States and our partners continue to do our respective parts. And that's why the supplemental that's currently before Congress is so necessary and so urgent.
I see it as the challenge of our generation. Just as my grandfather's generation had to fight off Nazi aggression in Europe, we are fighting against Russian aggression in Europe.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is officially running for re-election. This comes just a day after Russia's parliament set a date for next year's election, March 17th.
Putin has been leader for longer than any other Russian leader since Joseph Stalin. The last election in 2021 was dominated by widespread reports of fraud, and Putin's main rivals were blocked from running.
Last month, the Kremlin spokesman said that if Putin decided to run, then no one would be able to compete with him. If he does win, it would guarantee Putin power for another 6 years. Russia today says peace talks with Ukraine are unrealistic. The Kremlin was responding to a media report which said Washington wanted to see peace talks in 2024.
Russia says it won't agree to talks on Kyiv's terms. It also alleged that the U.S. works to make sure the conflict in Ukraine supports its own economic interests.
A former Ukrainian lawmaker was found dead near Moscow. Ilya Kiva was a former member of Ukraine's parliament. The pro-Russian lawmaker fled to Russia after the invasion.
He was found with a gunshot wound to the head on Wednesday. Russia's State Investigative Committee opened a probe on murder charges. Several Ukrainian media, citing anonymous sources, report that he was killed by Ukraine, but no official sources confirm.
The EU may reopen a case at the World Trade Organization against the U.S. It involves a steel and aluminum dispute that saw the allies hit each other with tariffs on more than $10 billion in goods. Bloomberg News reported the news today, citing people familiar with the matter.
However, the report said the EU won't immediately reintroduce tariffs in response to the disagreement with the U.S.
Train drivers in Germany are on strike for a few more hours until 10 p.m. local time. They reportedly want to work 35 hours a week instead of 38.
They're also seeking a raise of $600 per month. Germany's railway company calls it irresponsible to strike during the holiday season.
Passengers stranded at the railway station in Frankfurt today had differing opinions.
No, I don't have any sympathy. The one time when we want to take a train for a trip to Hamburg, there isn't one. I mean, there are so many strikes, and I have no understanding for them. For the employees, it's very good to demand higher wages and lower weekly working hours if the demands are reasonable to make ends meet in this current situation.
And lastly, train passengers in London also experienced delays this week.
This video shows passengers finally getting off a train that was delayed for hours.
Transport for London reported severe delays due to damaged overhead power cables.
One passenger said it took about 4 hours to get off the train.
Coming up, South Korean singles look for love as marriage and parenthood rates are tanking. The local government is even stepping in, organizing a holiday speeding dating event.
And a Christmas commercial has gone viral with a Hollywood-style storyline. We have more on Air New Zealand's Great Christmas Chase when we return.
It's just clear as day. The media, whether it's broadcast, cable, or print media, has become extremely biased. And I started looking online for alternative ways to get information. And I saw an ad for a free trial. And I looked at it and I said, Epoch Times. I mean, come on, this is end of days type of stuff. I mean, what are they going to be talking about here? And I said, well, it's a free trial. Let me dig in. Is it giving me both sides? Is it giving me an objective point of view here? I have looked for opportunities to see where they might be biased, and I don't find it. It has given me a level of trust in media that I didn't think I'd ever get back. I love the Epoch Times because it has renewed my faith in the idea that a reliable, responsible, non-biased source of information is available. And I can say that I love it because of that.
Did you know African elephants could become extinct in our lifetime? In fact, more than 90% are already gone. If we don't act now, they will disappear forever. But we can't do it alone, because when it comes to saving elephants, it's you plus IFAW, the International Fund for Animal Welfare. You plus IFAW together can help stop poaching, protect habitats, and save thousands of elephants. Call or go online right now to join IFAW.org and give $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. You can save elephants and the places they call home. Together, we can fund rangers to stop poachers in their tracks, protect the land elephants need to roam and survive, and provide loving care for those who have been orphaned so they can one day be released back into the wild. But the only way we can do this life-saving work is with you plus IFAW. So call or go online with your gift right now. With the monthly support of people just like you, elephants like Moses are alive and thriving today. It takes years of hard work from dedicated teams so orphaned elephants can learn the skills they need to survive in the wild. So please, call now or go online with your monthly gift. You can help provide the urgent care elephants need so this generation won't be the last. And when you use your credit card, you'll get this exclusive membership kit, including your very own IFAW t-shirt to show it's you plus IFAW standing together to help rescue and care for these majestic creatures. The danger for elephants is more urgent than ever before. That's why we need you. It's going to take all of us to help save elephants before they disappear forever. So please, call right away or go to joinifaw.org with your monthly gift. Because together, you plus IFAW can save lives.
It's the holiday season and people around the world are singing Christmas carols. We'll talk to Keith Getty of the Gettys, world renowned for making great Christmas songs that people enjoy. And then we'll introduce you to Monsignor Jamie Gigantiello, who has a new book that's dedicated to the entire family. All that and more on our next installment of America's Hope.
If next year were a color, what would it be?
Peach fuzz. That's according to Pantone Color Institute.
Its self-proclaimed color experts describe the hue as peaceful and serene. They call it warm, cozy, and even tactile as an answer to the world's turmoil. It's also in with fashion designers and Hollywood stars. Pantone says it uses psychology to pick a top color each year. And as Christmas songs played, 100 South Korean men and women gathered for a festive speed dating event.
Participants were dressed to impress, hoping to find love as South Korea's marriage rates plummet.
NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the matchmakers.
This mass blind dating event was an attempt by the local government to reverse a falling birth rate in South Korea. The popularity of marriage and enthusiasm toward parenthood in the country have nosedived.
South Korea's ultra-low fertility and birth rate is a serious problem. However, this kind of event isn't a solution for the low birth rate. When we expand the budget for policies that directly support pregnancy, child delivery, and parenting, we can expect to hear the cries of more babies in Korean society.
The participants were in their 20s and 30s.
I'm a little nervous, but with this Christmas mood they set up here, I hope it goes well until the end, with a warm and enjoyable atmosphere.
The event featured wine, chocolate, games, free makeup services, and even background checks.
Regarding having a baby, I need to meet a good match first, and then I need to consider whether I have good circumstances. There are lots of things to do, so it's quite burdensome.
South Korea's fertility rate dropped to a record low of 0.78 last year. Local mayor Shin Song-jin said solving low birth rates is not a simple endeavor.
Of course, low birth rates cannot be resolved with a single policy. We need comprehensive measures. In terms of that, Seongnam City is taking care of issues concerning newly married couples, such as rental housing, housing supply, and their welfare.
The mayor stressed that the city was working on several policies for young couples to tackle the issue. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
The artist is known for his light projections on landmarks, including the Matterhorn and the Brandenburg Gate. He said this installation was challenging due to the humidity, clouds, and moon.
And as for the meaning behind the projection, the artist said it's to remain a little child and hope, because light is hope.
And now to Italy, where the largest Christmas tree in the world was lit up yesterday. It's an extraordinary tradition in the medieval Italian town of Gubbio. An entire mountain slope lights up the shape of a tree. Volunteers worked for several weeks to prepare the tree, which entered the Guinness Book of World Records in 1991. And it wasn't an easy task. Around 1,300 hours of work were required to create the spectacle. But locals get to reap the reward by seeing the tree in its full glory.
This could be one of the best Christmas ads ever.
Air New Zealand's feel-good Christmas video, The Great Christmas Chase, is captivating viewers with its Hollywood-style storyline.
Air New Zealand is proud to present The Great.
The ad follows a determined flight attendant who's on a mission to return a forgotten gift, overcoming obstacles throughout the airport despite the challenges. The crew member never gives up. The video was viewed by 1.5 million people in 6 days.
The airline said the film showcases the company's commitment to excellent customer service during the busy Christmas season.
The airline also shared some travel tips like booking extra connecting time between flights and wearing slip-on shoes. And if you have any news tips or feedback for the show, please feel free to email us at news.today@ntd.com.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
Anyone who's ever sold a home will tell you it's really hard. And it's one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. That's why who you work with matters. Together with HomeLight, we take care of every detail.
To a child, this is what conflict looks like. Children in Ukraine are caught in the crossfire of war, forced to flee their homes.
A steady stream of refugees has been coming across all day. It's bitterly cold.
Lacking clean water and sanitation, exposed to injury, hunger.
Exhausted and shell-shocked from what they've been through.
Every dollar you give can help bring a meal, a blanket, or simply hope to a child living in conflict. Please call or go online to givenowtosave.org today with your gift of $10 a month. That's just 33 cents a day. We cannot forget the children in places like Syria, born in refugee camps, playing in refugee camps, thinking of the camps as home. Please call or go online to givenowtosave.org today with your gift of $10 a month. Your gift can help children like Ara in Afghanistan, where nearly 20 years of conflict have forced the people into extreme poverty. Weakened and unable to hold herself up, Ara was brought to a Save the Children center where she was diagnosed and treated for severe malnutrition. Every dollar helps. Please call or go online to givenowtosave.org today with your gift of $10 a month, just 33 cents a day. And thanks to special government grants that are available now, every dollar you give can multiply up to 10 times the impact. And when you use your credit card, you'll receive this special Save the Children tote bag to show you won't forget the children who are living their lives in conflict. Every war is a war against children. Please, give now.
My graduation was something I will never forget. People like you and me sometimes may have doubts in ourselves, but I feel that everything's possible.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
I'm Kelly Wright in New York City, and we are NTD News.
Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
Hunter Biden is now facing 9 new criminal tax charges. The prosecutors allege it involved a 4-year scheme to avoid paying taxes while spending money on his lifestyle and drugs instead.
California is strapped for cash. The nation's most populous state and the world's 5th largest economy is struggling amid persistent inflation.
House Democrats call for new censorship on Facebook and X. Lawmakers call the content about abortion reversals misinformation and say it's not backed by science.
San Francisco beefs up an election ballot policy. Candidates can no longer get creative with Chinese characters on the ticket.
A former drug trafficker now works on the other side of the law, teaching police how to fight the cartels. We have the story of the man who helped bring down El Chapo.
And an unexpected development in golf as a prominent GPA player defects to the rival Live Golf League as merger talks continues. NTD's Dave Martin joins us in the studio to discuss.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
The U.S. economy is up nearly 200,000 new jobs. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 199,000 jobs were added in November.
That figure was about 20,000 more than economists had expected. The unemployment rate fell from 3.9% to 3.7%.
And President Biden and transportation officials have announced more than $8 billion in federal rail grants.
The money will go toward 10 projects, all funded by the bipartisan infrastructure law. The ambitious Brightline West project is getting $3 billion alone. The high-speed rail line is expected to connect Las Vegas to Los Angeles in half the time it currently takes to drive. Planners hope it will be completed in time for the 2028 Olympics in LA.
Also getting funding, a controversial high-speed rail project connecting Los Angeles to San Francisco that's already years behind schedule. California is facing a record $68 billion budget deficit. The nation's most populous state has been struggling since last year amid persistent inflation. Today, it's much more expensive for people and businesses to borrow money. Fewer people are buying homes and fewer businesses are hiring workers. That's resulting in less tax revenue for the state. The $68 billion hole is the biggest deficit in dollars in state history. Previous deficits have been larger as a percentage of state spending. California's current budget tops $300 billion, the largest by far of any state. Newsom will present his plan to cover the deficit in January. The governor will then have to negotiate with state lawmakers through June. The next budget year begins July 1st. And on the national level, the White House says Biden isn't changing his Bidenomics branding, although officials haven't used that term in more than a month. Earlier, we spoke with the host of the Can We Please Talk podcast, Mike Leon, who's been tracking this and public sentiment on the economy. Mike Leon, you've been covering the shift away from the Bidenomics branding by the White House. Why do you think the branding hasn't fared too well with voters?
Well, Stefania, first of all, thank you for having me again. I love being on with you guys. You know, it's funny because in our next episode that comes on the Can We Please Talk podcast, we brought on a Democratic strategist and somebody who worked in the Obama administration and campaign and worked for one of the House Democrats that's actually been very vocal about this, about not taking Bidenomics back to their constituents and using kind of that terminology, because I think right now what's happening is we've seen two parts to the economy. We've seen the job reports that have come out, and we've seen, you know, the jobs that have been added and unemployment go down. That's great. But the problem is that the cost of goods have gone up. The cost of services have gone up. And so when politicians go out there, you always hear them talk about kitchen table issues, right? And how much am I paying for certain things? And you always hear these kind of stories that are being told about what you're paying at the pump and what you're paying at the grocery store. And the data is backing that up. The U.S. Bureau of Labor statistics are showing that 3.7% increase year over year in the price of consumer goods. Food prices are up. Medical commodities are up. You know, your energy bill is 0.6% higher. So it's not when I'm adding up my bills, and I was paying maybe $90 to $100 last year, and now I'm paying $110 to $120. And then maybe I don't work in the sectors where the job growth is happening, which is healthcare and government right now.
And you mentioned you'll be speaking with Democrats about this and their reluctance to go with this term as well. And we've seen that as well in swing states. How much do you think this kind of reluctance among Democrats could impact their strategy going into the 2024 election?
Well, I think, you know, the Cook Political Report is the most nonpartisan report out there that kind of analyzes all of these races. There's about 26 seats that are up in play come in 2024 as the House is everybody's up for grabs. And these 26 seats, you know, there's so much going on with the House. And they've got to go back to their constituents and say, especially the Republican ones that are in some districts that could flip, they've got to go back and say, what have we done legislatively? There's not been much that they've been able to pass legislatively. There was a report recently about only 22 or so bills have been passed through this House, which is the lowest amount in history. So I think right now, the biggest thing for me that's been echoing, and I've mentioned this a couple different places, was Representative Chip Roy, who's going to be on our program in the coming weeks. He had said something on the House floor recently of like, can I take back to my constituents? What can we do better here in D.C.? We have done nothing. We've got to do something. On the Democratic side, I think right now it's not helping that they're not trying to find some bipartisan support in gathering some of this stuff and getting the message of unity and working together in Congress. I've talked to a couple folks in Congress about how do you reach across the aisle and do something that can start helping the American people, whether it's feeling, you know, inflation and the cost of goods and services, like I mentioned before, going up. And right now we're around to enter the Christmas break, so you're not going to see anything until 2024. And I think everyone's kind of using it on the Democratic side as this political chip of like, let's just wait because the Republicans are in control right now. We don't really have to do anything because they're in control, and we can just kind of blame them. And that's not the approach that I would take if I was,
What do you think they should do? What are you've laid out some of the challenges. What do you think, you know, could help them, or what would you suggest?
Well, I mean, look, there's a problem solvers caucus in the House. For people that don't know, there's a aptly named problem solvers caucus. It's made up of about 65 or 66 members of the House that are Republican and Democrat. They've solved no problem so far, but that's their name, that's their moniker. And this caucus right now, especially one Maria Salazar is in my district here in Florida. This committee or you know, whatever it is that they're called, they should come together and go to Leader Jeffries and Speaker Johnson and really talk about the efforts they can put together to pass some type of bills and legislations that can actually impact the American people. The problem, and you know this, Stefania, and the audience knows this, we're entering 2024. The primary season's about to start. We're going to start losing track and focus of what is happening in the House and Senate because we're trying to figure out who will be the leader of the free world in 2024. And the problem that's really happening on a local level and impact at the federal is these folks have to go back out there and champion the message of what they did in Congress. They haven't done much in Congress, and that's the problem.
Mike Leon, that's all we have time for. Thank you so much. Great to speak with you.
Thank you, Stefania.
Minimum wage workers in 22 states will get a raise at the start of the new year. The higher hourly rates are due either to scheduled increases or lawmakers upping the minimum wage in their jurisdictions because of inflation. Come January 1st, 7 states and D.C. will have minimum wages of $15 or more. In New York City, it's increasing to $16 an hour. The highest state minimum wage will be Washington State at $16.28, up from $15.74. A close second is California, which is raising its minimum wage to $16 from $15.50. The state with the biggest jump in its minimum wage next year will be Hawaii, which is hiking it by $2. 20 states are still using the federal minimum wage of $7.25, which hasn't gone up since 2009.
And Hunter Biden is facing new criminal charges. It's the second criminal case special counsel David Weiss has brought against the president's son in his long-running DOJ investigation.
Weiss announced the indictment last night, accusing Hunter Biden of failing to pay over $1 million in taxes while spending millions on items of a personal nature instead.
The indictment alleges this took place during a 4-year scheme to support what it called a lavish lifestyle. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on the new charges.
A California grand jury returned a 9-count indictment against Hunter Biden Thursday, charging him with 3 felony tax offenses and 6 misdemeanor tax offenses. Special counsel David Weiss alleging the first son spent millions on a lavish lifestyle and drugs instead of fulfilling his tax obligations. Weiss says the charges include 3 counts of failure to pay taxes for the years 2016, 2017, and 2019, and 3 counts of failure to file tax returns for the years 2017 and 2018. The special counsel's team accuses Hunter Biden of engaging in a 4-year scheme to avoid paying taxes amounting to at least $1.4 million. Prosecutors allege that Hunter Biden included false business deductions when filing for 2018, after eventually paying for that year, and claim it was done in order to evade assessment and reduce the substantial tax liabilities he faced. Also in the 56-page indictment are accusations of subverting the payroll and tax withholding process of his own company by withdrawing millions of dollars outside of its normal withholding process. It accuses the president's son of spending his money during that time on drugs, escorts and girlfriends, luxury hotels, exotic cars, and clothing, among other items of a personal nature, quote, in short, everything but his taxes. It states he spent over $1.8 million in 2018 alone, listing roughly $770,000 in cash withdrawals that year, along with over $380,000 payments to women, and close to $150,000 on clothing and accessories. The indictment also lists spending for 2016, 2017, and 2019. Hunter Biden's attorney Abby Lowell stated Thursday, based on the facts and the law, charges wouldn't have been brought if his client had any other last name. Lowell accuses Weiss of reneging on a prior plea deal under GOP pressure, and then piling on 9 new charges after a 5-year-long investigation. If convicted on all counts, Hunter Biden could face a maximum penalty of 17 years in prison. The Justice Department says its investigation is ongoing. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
We reached out to the White House, DOJ, and Hunter Biden's attorney for comment. We'll let you know when we hear back. Only 2 candidates remain in Houston's race for mayor. The next mayor of the 4th largest city in the U.S. will be elected in a runoff. State Senator John Whitmire and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee competed for the office. Crime, crumbling infrastructure, affordable housing, and potential budget shortfalls are front and center.
The runoff election will be held on December 9th. Only 21% of Houston's 1.2 million registered voters cast ballots in the November 7th election.
Both Whitmire and Jackson Lee failed to secure the necessary majority of votes to avoid a runoff. The winner will succeed Democratic Mayor Sylvester Turner due to term limits.
San Francisco is beefing up an election ballot policy. Candidates will no longer be able to freely pick their own Chinese name that appears on the ticket. Since 1999, ballots include Chinese transliterations of candidate names. More than 20% of the city's population is Chinese or Chinese American. Candidates have been shopping around for more authentic sounding names to use. California in 2019 passed a law clarifying the standards. Candidates have to stick to the transliteration provided by the state. That's unless they were given a Chinese name at birth or can prove their name is known and identified within the public sphere.
Coming up, more children are getting sick from eating applesauce pouches. Some brands have been recalled due to lead poisoning. What we know about the situation.
And McDonald's is set to test a smaller format concept store called Cosmics. What does it look like? More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
I'd like to say this is the first time, but there have been others.
How many?
Who can keep track?
You think this is a joke?
Darling, we need answers, and you're gonna give them to us.
Tell us again.
My car broke down. I brought it here.
I got stuck paying an expensive repair bill.
So it's true.
How much, darling?
$2,300.
$2,300.
What was I supposed to do? My transmission was shot.
You pick up your phone and you call CarShield before the car breaks down.
Plans through CarShield cover up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car.
That's right. A plan through CarShield could save you on some criminally high auto repairs, especially if your car is out of warranty. So, call CarShield, America's #1 auto protection company, before a breakdown and save yourself from getting stuck in car repair jail.
Let me guess. You hate saving money.
Who hates saving money?
Apparently you do.
All you had to do was call CarShield. And you could have protected yourself against expensive repairs.
Yeah, and then my price will go up the minute I file a claim.
Shut up! CarShield has the price locked in.
For as long as you cover your car.
I guess I should have called CarShield?
It's about time you said something that made sense.
Now you know what you need to do next time.
Bet he'll call CarShield now.
So can I go? Or
Don't get handcuffed paying expensive auto repairs. Call now and get the CarShield guarantee. Your price will never go up and your coverage will never go down as long as you cover your car. In just minutes, you could have a plan that covers up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car. Don't wait until it's too late. Get CarShield's best coverage yet. Call 800-965-0729. 800-965-0729. 800-965-0729.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant, so fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-984-7221. That's 1-800-984-7221, or go to getbullseyepro.com.
Democrats are calling on social media platforms to censor content about abortion pill reversal. House Oversight Committee Democrats want Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk to address what they call misinformation about abortion medication. Such abortions involve 2 drugs. The first drug, mifepristone, blocks the body's natural production of progesterone during pregnancy. That breaks down the uterine lining and terminates the pregnancy. The second drug, misoprostol, expels the aborted child. The 2-step drug regimen accounts for more than half of all abortions in the U.S. Reversing a medication abortion requires taking progesterone. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists called the protocol unproven and unethical. The Democratic lawmakers accused Facebook and Instagram of promoting pro-life content. Some new cooperation between the U.S. and Mexico.
The goal is to stop other countries, especially China, from investing in Mexican companies to get around U.S. sanctions and tariffs. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen announced the agreement yesterday. The two countries are creating a special group to check if foreign investments might be a risk to national security. The group will share information and best practices.
The goal is to make sure important industries are secure. In recent years, the U.S. has been making its rules stricter to protect from foreign companies, especially those from China. A former Chicago drug trafficker now has a new job. He's teaching law enforcement how to fight cartels and illegal drug smugglers.
We have the story of the man who helped bring down El Chapo. Please note that we didn't show his face out of concern for his safety.
I come from a family of drug traffickers.
This is Margarito Flores. He used to work with one of the world's most notorious drug kingpins, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman.
By the time I was 17, I guess I graduated by then, right? I had a degree in drug trafficking.
Flores went from counting packages of drugs as a child to running a multi-billion-dollar network with his twin brother in the Chicago area in the early 2000s, to eventual informant who turned on El Chapo. Now he's pulling back the curtain on his former trade secrets for law enforcement.
We're going to be going around the country and hopefully around the world and being able to share some of these tactics. That's where you see money and drugs.
Flores works with an Illinois-based firm called Dynamic Police Training. At this session near Chicago, over 100 law enforcement personnel are learning about the flow of bulk U.S. currency that finances trafficking.
So I'm talking about bulk U.S. currency that needs to be moved in semi-trucks. That is what fuels drug cartels.
Between 2005 and 2008, the Flores brothers' distribution cell earned nearly $2 billion, receiving more than 3,300 pounds of cocaine a month from the Beltran Leyva and El Chapo's Sinaloa cartels. That's according to federal court documents and the U.S. Department of Justice. Arrested in 2008, the brothers were sentenced to 14 years in prison. For their cooperation, they served 5. Prosecutors credit them with providing unparalleled assistance for the government's case against El Chapo. As informants, the Flores brothers pressed record on an audio tape device and called him to discuss a heroin shipment.
The phone call, for sure, we knew that it was gonna, change our lives, because the government had let us know that there has never been a legally recorded or intercepted call with Chapo Guzman talking about a drug transaction in the United States. What do they want to do?
The brothers were released in 2020.
Get rid of it.
Flores' law enforcement trainees told Reuters his insight helps them figure out the best way to dismantle narcotics networks.
I don't know if there's anyone out there that could, sit here today and, understand the American drug trade, the Mexican drug trade, as I have. I live both sides of it from every aspect.
Washington, D.C. is launching a new crime-fighting initiative called the Real-Time Crime Center. D.C. police will run the center and monitor a network of more than 300 closed-circuit cameras 24 hours a day. It's a bid to tame the serious crime spike in the city.
We have to have more technology to balance off not having the number of people resources that we have had in past years. So no camera will replace a live police officer, but it does enhance the force's ability to be in more places.
The American Civil Liberties Union of D.C. called the plan, quote, an alarming expansion of government surveillance. The Real-Time Crime Center is expected to launch in February.
In Maryland, light rail services will be suspended at all stops starting today for emergency inspections and repairs. Maryland transit authorities say the suspension is out of an abundance of caution. They discovered the potential for a punctured conduit on its light rail vehicles. This comes after a blowout and several smoke events between November 2021 and November 2023, with 3 of those incidents happening in the last 4 months.
One person suffered minor injuries in an October incident. Limited service is set to be restored once inspection and repair is completed on at least 8 rail cars. Full service will be restored once inspection and repairs on all 19 vehicles is complete. It's unclear when the work will be completed. In the meantime, shuttle buses will be provided at all stations. And lead poisoning linked to recalled applesauce pouches has increased. The FDA says the number of children sickened has risen to 64. They are all under the age of 6. The FDA previously recalled 3 products and said cinnamon may be the source of the lead contamination. The agency now says the cinnamon was supplied by a company in Ecuador called Negasmart. According to the FDA, Ecuadorian authorities reported the cinnamon had higher levels of lead than allowed in that country. The FDA also says it conducted an on-site inspection of the facility in Ecuador and ingredient sample collection is underway. McDonald's secretly launched a smaller format concept store called Cosmix. The first location opened in Bolingbrook, Illinois, about 30 miles west of Chicago as part of a limited test run. This is McDonald's new concept store, Cosmix. The fast food giant launched the first location as part of a limited test run.
The menu features cold beverages like flavored iced teas and slushes, as well as familiar McDonald's items like the McMuffin.
McDonald's aims to open about 10 of the pilot stores by the end of 2024. The south and northeast are bracing for storms this weekend. The Storm Prediction Center says the Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas region could see damaging wind and large hail Friday night into Saturday. Some of these isolated systems may also produce a few tornadoes. Heavy rain is also expected in the Great Lakes throughout Ohio and down to the Tennessee valleys. Between 2 and 4 inches is likely in the southeast. As the weekend progresses, the mid-Atlantic and northeast could see heavy rain on Sunday. Cold air filling in behind the front could briefly turn that into snow. Coming up, experts warn that China's likely collecting DNA at scale and using it for transnational suppression. We speak with an activist and human rights advocate for insights.
And a sweeping purge within China's most secretive political system. A report alleging Beijing's newly ousted foreign minister was tortured to death. We'll have the details soon when we return.
We all know that words have power. They set things in motion
and make us happy or sad.
But there's one word that stands out because when people say it, lives are changed.
It's not a big word. It's itsy bitsy.
It's only 3 little letters.
But when you say it, the life of a kid like me can be changed.
So, what is this special word?
It may surprise you.
It's yes.
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 Yes to becoming a monthly supporter of Shriners Hospitals for Children.
That's right. Your monthly support allows the doctors and nurses at Shriners Hospitals for Children to give the most amazing care anywhere and change the lives of kids like me.
And me.
And me. Because people like you have said yes. Now I can play football.
And I can play catch. And I can walk.
So what do you say? Will you say yes right now?
It's so easy.
All you have to do is pick up the phone or go to loveshriners.org right now and say yes. When you say yes to giving just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a reminder of all the kids you're helping every day. My life is filled with possibility because of the monthly support of people just like you who called the number on your screen and said yes.
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 Your yes is making a difference in my life and the lives of so many other kids like me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving.
Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, call again or go to loveshriners.org to say yes right away.
Anyone who's ever sold a home can tell you it is really hard. That's why who you work with matters. Together with HomeLight, we've helped thousands of people sell faster and for the best price.
It's a painting that is peaceful. There's a lot of beauty in it. And you forget about whatever you might be worried about.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us. Ready! That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu. And especially this year, no one has time to get sick. Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too.
I'm Melina Weisskopf on Capitol Hill, and we are NTD.
Welcome back. China is likely using mass DNA collection for transnational repression. That's according to experts at a recent Senate hearing for the Foreign Relations Committee.
How bad is it, and how far does it reach? We speak with the founder and president of Women's Rights Without Frontiers, Reggie Littlejohn, for insights. Reggie, you have an intimate understanding of the Chinese Communist Party, and that's through your human rights and advocacy work. What would you say are the key ways that China's scientific and medical community are influenced and affected by the control of the Communist Party?
Well, they are absolutely controlled because they have something called the civil-military fusion. And what that means is that every company in China, indeed every even citizen of China, if they are requested to do so by the Chinese Communist Party, have to share all their data with the CCP. So there is a very direct connection between anything that any company has in China and the CCP. They can use it for any purpose that they want, including military purposes.
And you've spoken, in your organization is very outspoken about forced abortions and forced sterilizations within China. How does the tactics of the Chinese Communist Party influence these and make them happen, and also in regards to forced organ harvesting?
Well, this is the thing, is that people are trained as physicians in China, and actually they're trained as physicians all over the world, including in the United States. And I can only imagine how heartbroken these physicians are when they are trained, hopefully to save lives, to actually be put into a situation of having to perform forced abortions, which happen to, I don't know, hundreds of millions of women and babies in China. These are performed by medical professionals, and they can't get out of it. They have to do it. And the same thing with the forced organ harvesting, where there recent evidence has emerged that these organs are not harvested after the person, and we believe these are prisoners, you know, that prisoners are being harvested, their organs, that it's not after they're dead, you know, that they are removing these organs while the prisoner is still living. And, you know, and obviously doctors are doing this. So it's horrible.
Yeah, and there was a recent Senate hearing that highlighted concerns about mass collection of DNA within China for the purposes of transnational repression. What do you know about that?
Well, there's a company called BGI. I believe it's the Beijing Genomics Institute, and they have been harvesting DNA data from all over the world at alarming rates. And who knows what they are going to be using it for. I don't think that they're using it to improve our health. They could be using it for military purposes, like to develop bioweapons. And another thing, as you say, in terms of transnational repression, there has been a movement inside of China where they are getting the blood from about 10% of the population of Chinese boys and men so that they can identify their relatives, and they can then go after their relatives. So if somebody is accused of a crime, they can go after their relatives. And this kind of thing can also happen transnationally. So there is a lot of transnational repression, but China, the cases, 30% of the cases come from the Chinese Communist Party.
And so this kind of thing could impact Chinese people here in the U.S. In what other ways do these practices influence us in the U.S. and our institutions?
Well, our institutions are at great risk. There's a couple of things going on. Some of our institutions are collaborating with the Chinese Communist Party, which I think, or like BGI and some of these other companies that the information can go straight to the Chinese military. I personally think that should not be allowed. I think that should be illegal. But then even for companies that are not collaborating with the Chinese Communist Party, their information can be hacked. So, for example, the Anthem group, their information was hacked a number of years ago, meaning that all kinds of information for American citizens went to the Chinese Communist Party. So we are at very great risk. We have to understand, Chinese Communist Party is not our friend, it's not our collaborator, it's not even our competitor, it is our enemy.
Reggie Littlejohn, Women's Rights Without Frontiers, thank you so much. And staying in the Asia Pacific, we have the major stories from Taiwan, Japan, and elsewhere. Reports say China's missing ex-foreign minister Qin Gang is dead, either by suicide or torture.
That's according to Politico, citing two people with access to top Chinese officials. They say Qin died in late July at a military hospital in Beijing. That's around the same time Qin was removed from his ministerial post.
In October, China's former defense minister Li Shangfu was also ousted 2 months after he disappeared from public view. China's opaque political system makes it difficult to uncover information about officials.
Leading up to Taiwan's presidential election, the island today reported 12 Chinese fighter jets and a suspected Chinese spy balloon. Taiwan's defense ministry said they spotted the balloon roughly 110 miles southwest of North Taiwan. It traveled eastward for about an hour, crossing the Taiwan Strait before disappearing.
This raises concerns that the Chinese regime is trying to interfere in Taiwan's elections.
Taiwan's foreign minister said the Chinese regime has been using very negative language against one of the presidential candidates.
And those kinds of statements have already told the Taiwanese people that they want to interfere in Taiwan's election and they want to shape the results of the election. And they are telling the Taiwanese people that if you vote for this political party, that means war. Vote for the other political party means peace.
The National Security Advisors of the United States, South Korea, and Japan are meeting in Seoul today and tomorrow. Top on their agenda are North Korea and other global issues.
The security advisors agreed to boost cooperation to curb North Korea's nuclear threat and missile provocations.
North Korea launched its first spy satellite last month. The North says this helps them better monitor U.S. military activities.
The U.S. and South Korea will also hold a separate meeting tomorrow to discuss expanding cooperation in advanced technologies such as chips, batteries, and AI.
President Biden's nominee for Deputy Secretary of State, Kurt Campbell, also addressed security concerns in the Indo-Pacific region.
Senators asked him about China, Russia, and North Korea at the confirmation hearing Thursday.
Campbell said he believes U.S. long-term interests in the 21st century will play out largely in the Indo-Pacific, and there is the real risk of strategic surprise.
He argued the most important U.S. ally on the global stage today might be Japan, and that security in the region also depends on ties between Japan and South Korea.
I'm confident that China will be unsuccessful in building the kind of bonds of trust that we are doing now with Japan and South Korea.
Australia today signed a contract with South Korean military supplier Hanwha Aerospace. This will see Australia receive about 130 Redback infantry fighting vehicles by 2028.
The deal is worth $2.4 billion. Australia says this is their single largest army purchase to date.
Australia noted that the vehicles would play an enormous role in improving the country's military capability.
The vehicles will be manufactured in South Korea. The first batch will be delivered in 2027.
As New Zealand's Conservative government comes into power, they are looking at reform in many areas, including education.
The government has agreed to overhaul the existing gender, sexuality, and relationship guidelines in schools.
This decision means removing gender ideology from the national curriculum in schools and shifting the focus towards academic achievement.
Will China invade Taiwan? On a Japanese island close to Taiwan, officials there are already preparing for an influx of refugees. That's if a conflict between Taiwan and China breaks out. Here's more.
This disaster drill is meant to prepare for crisis on Japan's westernmost frontier, be it a natural disaster or, as island mayor Kenichi Itakatsu increasingly worries, a humanitarian one. Yonaguni Island recently ran this exercise with Japan's self-defense forces, bracing both for tsunami and the event of the island's close neighbor, Taiwan, coming under attack from China.
I'm worried about what could happen. It's a situation that we cannot predict.
Yonaguni is only about 60 miles east of Taiwan, a self-ruled island of 24 million people. China claims it as its own territory and has ratcheted up simulated missile strikes and other military displays. Yonaguni residents say they worry about a possible refugee crisis if conflict broke out nearby. Japan has earmarked $290 billion for defense this year, the biggest build-up since the Second World War. But more than 24 current and former Japanese officials and island residents said there was no plan from Tokyo for Yonaguni, where they imagine hundreds if not thousands of refugees could try to flee.
What if they come here? What if they come here? I asked the government. There was no answer. Everyone was silent. It's like their mouths were taped shut.
Yonaguni has around 1,700 residents. Koji Sugama, the official in charge of preparing the island for disasters, thinks right now there wouldn't be enough emergency supplies if the worst comes to pass. This container is one of 3 on the whole island. Sugama says each one can support around 800 people.
These are cookies made from rice. Then there's curry pilaf, tomato risotto, corn pilaf, mixed rice. This will do for 1, maybe 2 days.
Yonaguni relies on bi-weekly ferry and a handful of daily flights from nearby islands for supplies, but these can often be cancelled due to bad weather. So far, the Japanese government's response to rising tension in the Asia-Pacific has focused on military spending, which Prime Minister Fumio Kishida plans to double in the next 5 years.
If something happens, I really have no idea how the Prime Minister at the time will act, what decisions they will take, or even be able to take.
Up next, a twist development in golf as a prominent PGA player defects to the rival Live Golf League as merger talks continue. NTD's Dave Martin joins us to discuss after the break.
Stay tuned to get this 5-piece bakeware set, a $60 value, absolutely free. Tired of that pan that always sticks? It's so scratched and worn, you can't cook in it.
Hi, Chef Daniel Green here with my new hammered pans from Gotham Steel. This complete 9-piece set is guaranteed to beautify your kitchen like never before.
Gosh, what I love most about this design is this hammered copper look. It would just look so fantastic hanging in my kitchen.
Wow, this is a beautiful pan. It looks great. Look at those eggs dancing around in there. I tell you, I'm sold. Where do I get these? I love them.
Hammered pans are ultra non-stick. Nothing sticks. Even gooey mac and cheese slips out with ease. And look, these sticky candies melted with a torch are no match for hammered pans. Plus, they're super durable, so use metal beaters straight in the pan for a gourmet souffle that slips out and a pan that looks just like new. They're even oven safe up to 500 degrees. So bake homemade chicken pot pie, cheesy lasagna, or this whole chicken dinner. Any recipe looks great in these pans, from steak flambe to delicious desserts and delicate fish, nothing sticks. Plus the entire set is dishwasher safe and PFOA free.
Similar sets are over $1,000, but you won't pay that. Not $500 or even $300. Get the full 9-piece Gotham Steel hammered set for just 5 payments of $49.99, and we'll even ship it to you free. But order now and we'll drop 1 payment. That's just 4 payments of $49.99, and we'll even guarantee it for a full 10 years. Plus, we'll include this free steamer and strainer, and our 5-piece bakeware set with every pan you'll ever need to make delicious breads, cakes, and desserts. Together, these are an $80 value. Yours 100% free. That's a huge 15-piece set with free shipping. Call or click now.
To order, call 1-800-445-7218 or go to buyhammered.com. That's 1-800-445-7218, or you can order online at buyhammered.com.
Water, nature's ultimate cleaner. We drink it, we bathe in it. Think water, think steam, think clean. Now harness the power of water with the H2O X5 5-in-1 steam cleaning system.
I'm so impressed with the X5. It's an all-in-one product. I can use it throughout my entire house.
It's cleaning, it's sanitizing, there's no chemicals in it. It's just steam.
This is unbelievable. There is no more odor. You could spend over $500 to purchase the products that the X5 5-in-1 Miracle replaces. Order your H2O X5 steam cleaning system, a $500 value, for just 4 easy payments of $43. Order now and we'll upgrade your X5 package. We'll add a 6th mode with a dusting and polishing wand. Valued at over $30, this extra bonus attachment makes your H2O X5 the H2O X6. That means your 10-piece system becomes a 12-piece system at no extra cost to you. All for just 3 easy payments of $43. Call or click right now.
Welcome back. And now for your sports news. We're joined by NTD's Dave Martin. Dave, in golf this week, Masters champion Jon Rahm switched to Live Golf. Most thought Live would be an afterthought when GPA's merger with them became official. What does this say about their future?
Well, it doesn't appear to be going away. I mean, ESPN is reporting that he got $300 million to leave the PGA. Other reports have it at $500 million. He hasn't said either way. Now, would they give that much money, though, if the league is going to be going away? I wouldn't think so, but this whole thing is really throwing everyone for a curve. Now, the merger hasn't actually been finalized, but this definitely would help Liv's negotiating position. I mean, it really seemed like the PGA knew it couldn't compete with Liv's deep pockets. I mean, they're funded by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. So they wanted to merge before more players were poached, you know, where they would have less negotiating power. Now, ironically, they had a non-solicitation clause with Liv that prevented either side from poaching the other's players during these negotiations. But the DOJ's antitrust department got involved, didn't like it, saying it would restrict competition. So it was removed, and look what happened. Now, Jon Rahm, he was a big get. You know, he's ranked 3rd in the world. He's only 29 years old, so this is a big win by Liv.
Now, Dave, the NBA's in-season tournament final will be Saturday. The Indiana Pacers are playing the Los Angeles Lakers for the title. This is the first time they've held this event. How do you think it's gone?
Well, I really think its first objective was just to grab some headlines during football season. To that extent, I think it's been successful. You know, usually no one really pays attention to the NBA until like Christmas Day when they put a whole bunch of games on TV when there's little other competition. But there's a lot of curiosity about this tournament, how it would work. Plus, I think the games have had more intensity than you'd normally expect at the start of the season in November, December. That always attracts the fans too. And the players, they were enticed with cash prizes, something like $500,000 for each player on the winning team. Plus for the league, their biggest star, LeBron James, is playing in the finals of this tournament. So I think it's been a big win for the league so far.
And Dave, let's turn to college football now. A couple of prominent coaches have voiced their frustrations about, trying to suit up a full team this time of year. They didn't really blame the NCAA's transfer rule, though, but said the problem is actually tampering by other teams. What were they referring to?
Well, yeah, Dabo Swinney and Mark Stoops, head coaches of Clemson and Kentucky, respectively, are both trying to play bowl games with less than a full roster of players. It's not easy. Basically, players can look into transferring by entering their name into the transfer portal as soon as the regular season is done, which was like last week. But there's still bowl games to be played. And there's been like more than 2,000 players who've already put their names in. So they're not really on any teams during this time. So what happens is plenty of teams are thin at key positions for the game. Now, Swinney said the problem could be resolved if the NCAA would actually punish other coaches and teams for tampering with these players. Ironically, though, all this is happening while 7 states are suing the NCAA for having any limits on transfer rules at all. So it doesn't appear that either side is really happy with what's going on right now.
So much going on, though. Thank you very much, Dave.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, next up, patience may just be the key to good parenting and harmonious family relationships.
On this episode of Strong Mind and Body, we get some tips for practicing patience with your children. Here's NTD's Gina Marie.
No matter what the age or stage of your children, patience is a key element. When we lack patience, it's hard to be the warm, nurturing parent we want to be. We might snap at them or send them the message that they are a bother. Parenthood calls us to be more selfless, patient, humble, and present. How can we do our very best for our children? Here are 5 tips. Number 1, take care. Most parents will do everything they can to take care of their children, but they often neglect taking care of themselves. The irony is that in order to do well taking care of one's children, one must tend to oneself. Subsisting on leftover goldfish crackers and 4 hours of sleep a night isn't going to do it. Aim for a good night's sleep, adequate nutrition, a little exercise, and some sunshine. Number 2, simplify. Often, a lack of patience manifests when one feels interrupted or overwhelmed. Childhood is fleeting. Make your parenting duties the priority. You can do this by scaling back on other less important obligations or tasks. Number 3, bedtime. Regular bedtime routines can have a huge effect on your entire home life. If you and your children's bedtime habits are not conducive to your life, take the steps to establish new habits. Number 4, slow down. Parents have a lot on their plates. We can find ourselves rushing from one task to another. Slow down and enjoy the moment. Play with their toys, read another storybook, linger at the park, and color right beside them. Don't miss the precious moments. And finally, number 5, nurture. If you are losing patience with your children's behavior, take time to lovingly and patiently teach them well. Ensure they are getting enough sleep and eating healthy, unprocessed foods. Also consider scaling back on screen time and getting them outside into nature.
The world's largest Santa Claus projected on a rock face in Switzerland. Artist Jerry Hofstetter is the mind behind this Christmas innovation. The colorful figure was projected across an area more than 2,000 feet long and 1,300 feet high, nearly 1.5 miles away from the observer's viewpoint.
The artist is known for his light projections on landmarks including the Matterhorn and the Brandenburg Gate. He said this installation was challenging due to the humidity and clouds.
As for the meaning behind the projection, the artist said it's to remain a little child and hope, because light is hope.
And now to Italy, where the largest Christmas tree in the world was lit up yesterday. It's an extraordinary tradition in the medieval Italian town of Gubbio. An entire mountain slope lights up in the shape of a tree. Volunteers worked for several weeks to prepare the tree, which entered the Guinness Book of World Records in 1991. And it wasn't an easy task. Around 1,300 hours of work were required to create the spectacle, but locals get to reap the rewards by seeing the tree in its full glory.
Astronauts are probing the mysteries of the cosmos. This week, the mystery involves a desiccated months-old tomato. It's apparently an inside joke on the International Space Station.
Well, we might have found something that someone had been looking for quite a while. Our good friend Frank Rubio, who headed home, has been blamed for quite a while for eating the tomato, but we can exonerate him. We found the tomatoes.
The astronauts say the tomato came from Rubio's agricultural project on the space station. That's why he was their top suspect and the subject of their teasing.
And a sea otter pup has a new home at the Shed Aquarium in Chicago. It's only 8 weeks old.
That was 2 months after it was rescued from a remote town in Alaska.
The Alaska Sea Life Center contacted the Shed Aquarium, which is equipped to care for rescued otters. Their otter team made the journey to bring the pup to Chicago.
The little one is a northern sea otter who was found alone and malnourished in the town of Seldovia. Its name is yet to be determined.
Aquarium staff are providing round-the-clock care for the otter, including feeding and grooming to take care of its dense coat.
Caring for a little otter pup is just like caring for an infant. So he gets fed every few hours. He also needs to get groomed. So sea otters have a very dense coat. There's anywhere from 700,000 to 1 million hairs per square inch. He has several milestones he needs to still mate. He needs to not be drinking a bottle anymore, get a little bit more bigger in size, also eating more diet, so those sort of things before he's ready to meet the other otters.
The pup will remain in Shed Sea Otter Nursery for a few months, building bonds with the staff.
He will eventually be introduced to the otter habitat and the 5 other otters at the aquarium.
And that's all for today's news.
Thank you for tuning in.
Feel free to reach out to us with news tips or feedback at news.today@ntd.com.
We'll be back with more stories on Monday.